rain. Oh, yeah, very cloudy. Muzaffar, very cloudy. Yeah, cloudy. Why is it like that? It's cloudy. No, it's cloudy. Don't worry. Don't worry, we do that after. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulil kareem amma ba'd. We were dealing with, we were discussing, leave that one. MashaAllah. We were discussing, yesterday we spoke about the importance of upholding justice. As I mentioned, on the flip side are those who oppress people. And sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows a person and gives a person opportunities. And then when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides to hold on to and destroy, then that's it for that individual. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf was a notorious tyrant, and he was a Khalif, he was one of the leaders, and he killed, or he was one of the governors, sorry, and he killed many believers. Many of the famous Tabi'un, even some of the Sahaba, were not spared from Hajjaj. And it so happened that once there was an individual who was passing, who whilst he was walking, he saw a person who was hung by Hajjaj on the street. So Hajjaj had hung the man. He had killed the man, he had hung him. So one of the reasons for doing that was so that other people would desist from maybe what that other person had done. Because the moment you spoke out against Hajjaj, Hajjaj would kill you. A tyrant. So this person, he raised his hands and he said, Rabbi inna hilmak bil-zalimin. That, oh Allah, your patience with the oppressors has become more harmful for the oppressed. Because you are Halim and you are giving them respite. Well, look what is happening. Right? The innocent people are continued being oppressed. So that night, he saw a dream. That night, that same person saw a dream. And he saw that the person who had been hanging on the streets was in the highest status of Jannah. And he heard a voice saying to him, Inna hilmi bil-zalimin, awrat al-madmumin, a'la illiyin. That my patience and my clemency towards the zalimin, towards the oppressors, has actually granted the oppressed a very lofty stage in Jannah. So, when we reflect on this, sometimes you see what is happening and, in Palestine, and Allah bring an end to the genocide. Those who are oppressed, they're getting their Jannah. They're getting their Jannah, right? And sometimes you say that, why is the help of Allah not coming? Well, people pray for martyrdom. People pray for martyrdom. And martyrdom is one of the highest positions a person can get. It says that the martyr, due to the honor that Allah gives them, due to their martyrdom, they always wish that they can be sent back to the earth and get martyred again and go back to Allah. So I just want to very quickly, read to you an incident, or go through with you an incident of oppressors and how Allah deals with them. Because oppression doesn't necessarily mean in cutting someone's head off, but oppression can take many types. Verbally hurting someone, speaking ill and, slandering people, all this comes under oppression. So Sheikh Ali Tantawi rahimahullah, he mentions an incident, and he wrote about this incident. So he said that once he was in Beirut, and he was in a car which belonged to a friend of his. And as he was driving, they were approaching a mountain, and a Chevrolet, that's what it's called, right? So he saw this big Chevrolet car flying past him. And this car was driving really fast, and it was overtaking cars going up the mountain. He said, we were following, and suddenly we saw a truck coming. And instead of the car stopping and allowing the truck to maneuver around the corner, because they were going around the corner, the individual in the car, and he said he could see that there were people in the car laughing and clapping and shouting and singing and all these things. Going around the corner, the car still didn't stop. And the car tried to push itself through the corner, and the truck ended up hitting it. The car tumbled, fell, and crashed. He said all of us got out and we came and we saw bodies charred because the car burned up. However, there was one lady and she was flung one side and she was alive. And they had a 9-year-old girl. She was also alive. She had a few scars. And two other children, they were also alive. Besides that, everyone in the car had died. Their bodies were burning, etc. He said, I was one of the judges, so I take an interest in cases, so I started trying to find out what happened here. Police came, investigated. And then after that, the investigation went, he said, then when I went back to my office, I tried to find out what was happening. So, cutting a long story short, he said, I was surprised at what I found out. Basically, what had happened, so then he said, then the tale is that this family, and then he started from the beginning. He said, what happened was there was a young girl, beautiful young lady. She grew up in the luxury of her father's home. She had everything at her disposal. Suitors would come and they would propose marriage. May Allah Ta'ala make it easy for all those who are looking to get married to have lovely spouses. I mean, so suitors were coming and they were proposing to her. And the father would say, this way, this way. Then one day a person came and said, listen, I'm going to look after your daughter like my daughter. My son is religious as well. The mother is very nice. We have one of my older sisters. She lives with us. She's a widow, and we'll look after. She's my daughter. He said no, no. So then he said okay. Finally, he accepted. The girl was happy, and they also, as part of the contract, they agreed to quite a large sum mahar of dowry. And then the father said, okay, I will also send some things, right? So like some furniture and other items I will give as a gift from my daughter. But it's my daughter's, but she'll bring them with her into the marital home. The girl gets married and now she realizes that this family is very bakhil. You know what bakhil is, right? They're very miserly. They're very, very miserly. They had a lot of wealth, but they're always thinking of when a bad day is going to come. And they were looking at the past and what happened in the past. And he said the mother-in-law used to treat their daughter-in-law really badly. The daughter, at home, she had everything, the best of foods. Suddenly here now, she could barely eat anything. They would buy sweets, but they would put it in the cupboards. And when guests would come and they would serve them these sweet dishes, they would not even encourage the guests to eat because they would think that if we don't encourage them, the guests won't eat, we can save it. In this manner, they were living very, very tight-fisted. The girl, as I said, enjoyed her good days and her happiness with her family. Suddenly now she can't enjoy it. The husband, he was nice. Initially, he was nice and he was very caring, but he's living amongst the family, and the family, especially he said the old aunt, whenever he would see the wife being nice to her husband and the husband being wife to the wife, she used to go to him and say, why are you being so kind to your wife? You're falling into her traps. And then she'll take control of you and many ignorant remarks. Unfortunately, people still do these things. So continue with the story. A time came now that the husband, he started not caring for the wife. Now the wife, she's waiting for the husband to come home. He's coming home late and she falls asleep. So when the aunt, now the old aunt, mischievous as ever, she's waiting for opportunities to pounce. So then she would tell the husband, look at her. She had her food. She didn't even wait for you and she went to sleep. The poor girl, sometimes she would go to her family's house. That old aunt would always accompany her and would treat her really nice in front of the family. So the family would think everything is nice and rosy. On the other hand, she is being oppressed. She is being oppressed at home. She lost a lot of weight, etc. Now they're wondering, okay, remember they had to give her a mahar. And it was a large dowry. Now the mahar is not forgiven. You still have to give it. So they're planning now that how can we get away from giving this mahar? Now the father of the bride, he's not even asking, but they're planning. And then on top of that, they're telling the father, remember you had promised to give some stuff to your daughter to bring with her, some appliances and all these utensils. We haven't received it yet. So he said, no problem, go get it. And it's his daughter's. Now the lady becomes pregnant. she becomes pregnant. So now they know they have to give the mahar, right? It's even more binding now. So they start to treat her nicely. And what they would do is that mysteriously, whenever any checks come, any posts come, because that we're talking about the 1940s here. So letters would come, bills would come, whatever would come. They would say, "Oh, you go and sign it. You go and sign it." And she would sign it. She would sign it. One day it so happened that she was washing up, and the aunt came and said, "There's something very important you have to sign." She said, "But auntie, I'm washing the wish dear, the wares." She said, "No, come." She wiped her hands. She went, signed. You know what that was? She was basically signing that she's forgiven all of the mahar. No, she didn't know that. She didn't know that. These people now got happy. Remember the stuff that the father has said? When they went and purchased it, or when they got it, they made out the bills in their own name, as if they had bought it. So everything is in their name. Nothing is in her name. And now, because she's about she's in her pregnancy, her later stages, they don't want to bear the cost of childbirth either. So what do? They send her home to her father. When the girl went home to the father, and the father saw the condition and she cried, she explained, the father said, "This can't continue." So then he went to the court. Went to the court. She gave birth to a child, she had a baby girl. They went to the court, and but however, all the documents are in their favor. See, in Islam, sometimes you rule on the apparent. Say you have two people come in, right? Two people come in, may Allah protect you all. Two people come in with a case. One body is more eloquent and they put forward their case better, or they have some so-called supporting documents. But really and truly, that person is wrong. But the qadi can only judge by what is apparent in front of him. In the sight of Allah, that's a different matter. Then you will be judged over there. So these people, they had their documents. They had their documents and their bills and everything. So the judge, what could he do? He had to rule in their favor. The lawyer told the father, let's continue. We know that they're wrong. Even the judge can sense that they're in the wrong. The father said, leave it. I leave it up to Allah. I leave it up to Allah. Allah will deal with the matter. So the story goes that same day is when they came out of the court, and they were celebrated. During that time now, the same man had gotten married, and there were two little children that either the wife had or he got with that wife. So there were two little children as well. So he put all of them in the car and said, "Let's celebrate now. We've won this case. We've won this case." And they're celebrating that. Look at us. Our tricks meant that we were able to not have to pay this mahar. And not only that, but all the things the father sent and purchased and gave in his daughter's name, we were able to keep all of that. And so they got in the car and they were driving and they were celebrating and they were, no, sorry. It didn't come to that yet. So first, the case was settled. Now the daughter, she got to the age of 9. She got to the age of 9. So now they went back to court and they said, "We want our daughter now. That's my daughter." So again, the court ruled in their favor. Okay, you have to go and live with your father now. So that day they were celebrating. Look at us. Look at how much we outsmarted them. First, we made her sign over the mahar. We took away all of her property, all of the utensils and everything, whatever she brought with her. And now, the daughter that she raised for 9 years, and they had to spend on her all that time. Look at that. We are now taking the daughter back. So they're in the car. So they got in the car, the new nice car, and they are driving, and he's driving fast, and he's celebrating. And all of them are celebrating. And they're slandering the poor girl's mother. Now the new wife, she's innocent. And the two children that she has, they are innocent. This is that it was this car that when they were celebrating and they're laughing and joking and mocking at the poor lady, that the truck hit them, and all of them departed from this world. The only people who were saved were the innocent ones, the new wife and the 3 children. So Shaykh Tantawi rahimahullah, when he mentions this, he says, look at this. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes in this very world deals with the oppressors. Sometimes Allah gives them respite and then deals with them even more severely in the hereafter. But also in this world, many times the oppressors are dealt with. And that's a lesson for us that we don't ever oppress anyone. Don't ever oppress anyone. Especially wives, daughters-in-law, right? We don't oppress whatsoever, right? Treat your daughters-in-law like your own daughters. And then you'll see, inshallah, heaven on earth in this world as well. May Allah Ta'ala grant us the understanding. Will Allah Ta'ala protect us from oppressing anyone or being assistance to any oppressors. Ameen. Wa akhdauna billahi rabbil alamin.